We're staying with Genesis chapter 39, and I'm reading from verse 5 for you. From the day that Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. Not for Potiphar's sake. Why would he bless Potiphar? For what reason? He blessed Potiphar because of Joseph. You know, this is an amazing thing about God. He can put you in a master-slave situation, culturally very different, with so many different variables, so many different so-called barriers, so many issues around you. Today, we have to deal with different kinds of things, racism, all kinds of sexual discriminations, all kind of political stuff, wokeness, all kinds of economic scenarios, and the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and there's all kinds of government interventions and controls and lots of stuff. Well, Joseph, he had to deal with a lot of that stuff. He didn't let it bother him. The Lord was with him. He kept his dream. No one in that environment knew about his dream, but he had a dream that God gave him a long time ago. And so he held on to that dream. The Lord was with him because the dream was still yet to come to pass. All the stuff that's happening with Joseph, he's not seeing any realization yet of what he dreamed coming to pass. He's still a slave. Yes, God is blessing his master and he's giving him favor and he's getting promoted, but there's no real indication that his dream is coming to pass yet. Now watch what happens. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. What? You mean here's Potiphar? You could say this. Look, he gave him management and administration over all his household affairs. But here's God blessing his livestock and blessing his crops for Joseph's sake. So Potiphar began to recognize, wait a minute, since this Joseph guy arrived in my house, not only is my household things running smoothly, not only have I promoted him to be close to me, but everything he's doing is like, wow, I'm flourishing, I'm abounding, I'm growing, everything I'm doing is good. I want to say to you that, again, Joseph is not at the end game of his dream coming true. But I can say this, that what was happening with Joseph should have been a sign. And I know it was, because he would later find himself in a different set of circumstances. And we'll talk about that in future sessions. But here's Joseph finding himself working, but God is blessing crops and livestock. In other words, there's other livestock, there's other crops going, but in this man's house, it just seems like the animals are fatter, the animals are healthier, they don't get diseases and sickness, the crops are healthier, bringing about bigger yields, the harvests are more promising, they're healthier, better quality, more yields. For Joseph's sake, Potiphar is experiencing this blessing because of Joseph. So, what does Potiphar do? He says, I've noticed the Lord is with you. And so what did he do? He gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. Not just his livestock, but over everything he owned. With Joseph there, Potiphar didn't worry about a thing except what kind of food to eat. In other words, this man, the day that he bought a slave from those traders, everything changed in his life. When Joseph came into his world, everything changed. His household ran smoothly, his crops grew, his wealth grew, his status increased. In fact, the Bible says all he had to worry about was, hey, what am I eating next? He didn't have to think about anything else. Everything in his life was tip-top, ship-shape. Everything was fantastic because of Joseph. God blessed him because of Joseph. The thing I must say here is that when God does these kind of things for you, others will see it. They will notice. They will notice. And in the next session, I'm going to tell you about that there's a lot of things that get noticed. And some of it is not so good, but God has always got a way of bringing His blessing into the situation. The Lord is with you.